Hi, I'm Stewart from the Norfolk Honey Company and welcome to my beekeeping basics. Today we're back at our queen rearing apiary where at this time of the year, mid-August, we're starting to think about uniting colonies and setting up all of the colonies to go through the winter. And one of the interesting ways of uniting colonies is, rather than using a newspaper method, is using an essential oil suspended in water and spraying that onto the frames, and then just putting the frames into a full-size hive and combining all of the frames. So we're going to give that a go today, and I thought it'd be interesting for you to see how that works. And if you haven't yet subscribed, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We've got a great back catalogue of videos now for you to take a look at, and also take a look at our Facebook group, which is Stewart's Beekeeping Basics. We've got a growing group of beekeepers there sharing tips and techniques between each other and offering lots of advice to new beekeepers. We've also got our social media platforms, our Twitter feed and also Instagram, so take a look at those. And don't forget to take a look at our Patron page, which is where you can help support us producing these videos. We are a crowd-funded channel and rely on the support that we get from our viewers. Okay, so let's head into the apiary and see if we can unite these two nukes. Okay, so we've got two nucleus colonies here that are side by side, and what we're going to do is we're going to introduce a full-size commercial hive in between the two. We've got queens in both of these colonies, but we're taking one out because we need a queen in another colony, and we're going to requeen that colony. So that will make one of these two nukes queenless. And then what we're going to do is use a small bottle, a little vaporizer bottle, which has an essential oil in it. So we've got water and the essential oil in here. We're using today we're using lemongrass. We've used peppermint in the past and that's worked well, and all you have to do is to just shake the bottle well before you use it as a spray. The essential oil coats the frames and suppresses the pheromone in both colonies, and by the time the water essential oil mix has evaporated and dried off, the bees are then fairly happy with each other and don't fight. So the first thing to do is to get the colonies set up. We'll bring a new hive in between the two of them, and then we can show you how we unite the two together. So we've taken the queen out of this first nucleus colony, and now we're just setting ourselves up with the new hive, which is one of the Maysmore commercial poly hives. And if you haven't seen the videos, take a look at our Maysmore sponsored videos, and on those you'll see all of the details of what these hives are like and how they work. So we'll take the Varroa screen out of the bottom, we don't need that at the moment, and then we can just dismantle the hive in preparation. Okay, so we've actually got this loaded with frames, so we just need to remove the frames first. Make sure that the entrance block is open so the bees can access the hive. Okay, so we're all set now to start transferring frames across. So we'll open up both of the colonies and then we'll start removing frames one at a time from each colony and introduce them into the commercial hive one by one. And I'll show you exactly how that works now. So we take our first frame from colony number 1, and I'll just rest that in the brood box, and then we take our atomizer bottle, give it a good shake, and this sprays a mixture of the lemongrass oil, and we just spray it on both sides of the frame and pop it into the box. Then we go to the second colony and we open these and do exactly the same thing. And it's the essential oil that masks the pheromone smell of the queen that's in the queenrite colony, and that helps to avoid any fighting that we would have between the two colonies. So we can now pop this one in next to the first frame. Then we go back to the first colony, remove the second frame, give the bottle a shake, and again spray the bees with a light spraying of the essential oil. Back to the second colony, and we continue this until we've got all of the frames in the new hive. I'm just checking, this is the queenrite colony, so I'm just checking for the queen to make sure that she's here. Quick shake of the bottle. And you can really smell the essential oil coming off here, and that will mask the pheromone of the hive really well. One of the things that you do need to just be mindful of is any uneven frames that have maybe high spots. You don't want to be putting frames against each other tightly where they maybe have a high spot, because then you're going to crush bees. So I've still not seen the queen in this colony, but this frame is full of eggs and brood. And the bees are very confused now, so they're really struggling to work out what's going on. And that's exactly what you want. You want to end up with a colony that's very confused as to who's in charge and who's not in charge, and that way they'll all end up getting on well with each other without any fighting. At least that's what we always hope happens. Bees all over my hands, so we'll just give them a quick shake. Still not seen the queen, but again, that's not an issue. She's going to be tucked up inside one of these frames that are tightly clustered on the frame. It's a bit cool today, so there's lots of bees in the hive itself. Just be careful when you're placing the frames back into the brood box, because you don't want to crush lots of bees. So then we're back to this, the final frame from this nucleus colony. And this is an alternative method to using the newspaper method, where you would separate the two colonies with a sheet of newspaper. And it's ideal when you've maybe got a couple of nukes that you want to join together in one hive, rather than stacking nuke boxes on top of each other. So I didn't see the queen. We'll have a look in the box to see if she's hidden away inside the nuke box before we shake all the bees out. Nice and gently. So they're 5 frame nukes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we've now got the 10 frames inside this box. So now I'm just having a look for the queen to see if she's on the. So unfortunately the batteries failed in the wireless microphone, so here's my little voiceover. So I've checked the nucleus box for the queen. I couldn't find her on the side walls of that box, and then I checked the floor as well, just to see in case she had wandered down onto the floor, but she wasn't on the floor either. So I've shaken all of the bees off both the box and the floor, and then given the tops of the frames another spray with the lemongrass water mix, and that will suppress the general pheromone in both of these nuke boxes. And then I've shaken the bees from the first nucleus box, which is definitely queenless because we've taken the queen away from that box and placed her in another colony. And then it's just a case of removing all of the equipment from the 2 nuke box sites. So that's the floor from the first nuke box, and just making sure that there's no equipment either side of the polyhive that the bees can cluster around. You'll notice in the background that the bees had started to drift across to the other polyhive, and that was rather a little bit too close, I think, and I'm sure that once the bees had settled down they'd probably drift back to their original hive. And here we can see the bees just running around on the top frames. I put an extra frame of foundation in and then just gave them a little bit of smoke just to move them down. And then because the hive is on a pallet and it looks as if the floor needs to be wedged because it's got a bit of a wobble on it, but the hive is on a pallet, and the easiest side to inspect the colony is from the side that I'm standing at the moment. So that's why I've moved all the frames across to leave me an edge, an open edge at the far side. And then it's just a case of closing down the colony. Okay, so we've united those 2 nukes and everything seems to be okay in there. We've got the queen in there. I would imagine she'll be on one of those frames. We didn't see her, but she's bound to be there somewhere. It'll be quite confused now. They'll not have their pheromone to detect, so the bees are going to drift around a bit. Some of them had drifted to another hive and they were quite close together, so I suspect some might drift over to that colony. But generally speaking, I think this method works really well when you don't want to stack too many boxes on top of each other, or you want to unite colonies really quickly. Maybe you haven't even got any newspaper. So it's a worthwhile method trying, and we'll come back in a week's time. So the batteries have just died on my wireless microphone, so we've switched back to the camera mic. We're going to finish up here, so we'll catch up in the next video. But until then, thanks for watching.